Hello everyone, and welcome to Git Basics for Hackathons, where I'll show you how to get up to speed with Git and Bitbucket so that you can start your hackathon as fast as possible without glitches. So let's get right into it. Let me show you the plan for the session. I will show you how to set up Git first, explaining you what Git and Bitbucket are, and then I'll show you how to set up a Bitbucket account, how to add your teammates for your hackathon, how to check in your initial code, and then how to keep up to date with what your peers are doing. And in the end, I'll give you a pointer on where to find additional help. So without further ado, let's get started. First, some basics. What is Git? What is Bitbucket? Git is a distributed version control system, and at a very basic level is a command line tool that allows you to create repositories and push and pull code changes from other servers or from other colleagues. It comes in two forms. Broadly speaking, you can use it on the command line, or you can install a visual client to use Git on your system. When you want to store and share code with your peers, you generally use a Git server on a repository in the cloud or behind the firewall of your organization. We'll show you how to do that using Bitbucket, which is a repository server in the cloud. And let's start by setting up Git. To set up Git, you need to install Git locally on your system first. You have two options. You can either install a visual client, GUI, for your operating system, or you can install Git on the command line, which gives you full-fledged access to all the power of Git on your local machine. If you're visually inclined and if you use Mac or Windows, go to sourcetree.com and download a free visual client for Git. In the following, I will also show you how to set up Git on the command line. If you want to set up Git on the command line, head over to git-scm.com/downloads and pick a package and installer for your platform. So in this example, I will choose Mac. So I downloaded the DMG first, and the DMG will open a drive which contains a package file. So I need to double click on the package file. This will launch the Git installer. So follow the prompts to install Git, and after that's done, Git is installed on your local machine. The next step is to open a terminal window and verify the installation. To verify the installation, type git --version on a terminal window, and this should tell you the version of Git that is installed. If that happens, Git has been properly installed. Next, you need to configure Git and tell Git your name and your email. And you do that by issuing a global config command. So how does that work? Well, you type git config --global user.name and your name wrapped in quotes. And to tell Git your email address, you can type git config --global user.email and your email wrapped in double quotes. And this is how you basically set up Git on your local machine. So what we've seen is you need to download Git, decide if you want to install it in visual client form or command line, then install it, verify that Git is properly installed, and configure your user and email on Git. Next, let's see how you create an account on Bitbucket. So setting up an account on Bitbucket is very easy. Just head over to bitbucket.org and you'll be prompted for a sign up page where you have to choose a username, an email, and password. And once you're done, you can just click sign up for free. If you prefer to use Google to sign up, then click on the sign up button on the top right and then click on the link sign up with your Google account. After you follow the process, you'll be asked a couple more questions which you can fill out or skip, and then you'll have a Bitbucket account set up. Now let me show you how to add your teammates. Once you're logged in and you've already been assigned to an organization, you have access to a repository, and you want to give your peers access to this repository. So click on the repository name, which we'll use repository 1 as an example. Click on Settings, go to Access Management, and in the Users text box, you can type the username or the email address of your peer. Let's fill one out. And you want to give to this peer write access to your repository so that he can commit code to this shared repository too. And then click the Add button. As you can see, now my peer's name appears over there, and I gave it write access. Let's review what I just did. You just go to Settings, go to Access Management, type in the username of a user and that you want to add to your repository, and give it at least write access. Next, let me show you how you can check in your initial code in your project. Let's go to the repository. And as you can see, we try to be helpful, Bitbucket, and help you out starting up when your project is new. So you click on I'm starting from scratch, you will see some instructions. So first you create a directory, we change directory to that folder, we initialize a local Git repository, and we define our origin for that local repository. Let me guide you through these steps on the command line. So remember to cut and paste, copy this command line, which is the one we will need to use later. So let's switch to a command line. Let's create our local repository and check in some code. First, create the repository folder locally. Then we change directory to the repository folder. Now we have to initialize our local Git repository. So we do that by typing git init. Next, we need to specify where we want to push our code to. And we want to push our code onto our Bitbucket remote repository that we have just created. We do that by adding a remote. So you type git remote add origin, which is the default remote name, and then we paste in the URL that we got on Bitbucket. Now we're all set to add some code and then push it remotely. Let's create a file for a start. You can use any editor you like. I will use Vim here. So now I've created a file. To check the status of my working directory, I can type git status. And as you can see, Git is telling me that it sees a new file, but that file is untracked by Git. To specify that we want to track that file, we add it to the staging area. So we type git add collaborators. If I type git status again, Git tells me that now that new file is scheduled to be committed locally. Let's just do that. Git commit -m. I need to add a message explaining what I'm doing with this commit. And there you have it. We have created a local commit that contains a new file with my collaborators. Now, if I type git log, I can inspect and see that I have one local commit on my machine. The next step is to push this commit to our remote repository on Bitbucket. To do that, we use the push command. The syntax is git push the remote server where we want to push our code to, in our case is origin, and the branch where we want to push our code to. The default branch is master. As you can see, I have now pushed a code change on Bitbucket. So if I switch to Chrome and I refresh the page of my project, you will see that now the project has some code, some commits, and if you go into the source tab, you'll see that our collaborators file has been committed. And if I click on the commits tab, you'll see that actually we have committed our first commit, and we can inspect what happened. This concludes this section of the tutorial. Let's review what we just did. We have created a project folder on our local machine. We have added a remote so that we can push code on Bitbucket. We have created a commit locally, and then we have pushed our local commit remotely on Bitbucket. Let's now see how you can pull changes from your peers. When the project is ongoing and your peers have committed some code to your shared repository, to collect your changes, it's very easy. You just need to use the pull command. The syntax is git pull origin master. So we're going to pull from the remote named origin, which is our Bitbucket remote repository, the changes incoming in the master branch locally. As you can see, I've now collected some changes. One file has changed with one line inserted. I can inspect the logs by typing git log. As you can see, there's an extra commit. And if I want to know what happened, I can even go on Bitbucket in the commits list and see exactly what was added. And as you can see in this example, a new collaborator has been added. As you can see, the only command that you need to remember at this basic level is git pull origin master. Now, because I want you guys have to go up to speed and get going with your hackathon as fast as possible, I cannot go into deep details about many other things that Git allows you to do. So let me point you to some place online where you can get more information, more help about workflows and commands. So if you need more help with Git, head over to atlassian.com/git, where we have basic tutorials, command descriptions, and even in-depth articles about various areas of Git. So thank you for listening, and good luck with your hackathon.